Thank you so much for coming, Ashley. It's so lovely to meet you, and always love to meet female VCs. I think there could be more of them. I know they tell me that more women get invested if there's more female VCs, and that's because women understand other women's businesses, not to do with favouritism. So I'm really pleased and honoured that you could come tonight. Could you tell me a little bit about what led you to the focus that you have in investing and what it is that you're passionate about?
Sure. So for OWL, I should probably talk a little bit about the fund. So we invest exclusively in education technology companies, and we invest typically at, we say, post-product market fit when you have a company that is looking to scale. So that kind of comes back to my story and coming into the venture capital space, where prior to business school, I had taught in the Bronx. I taught 7th grade social studies in a school where you had a wild range of individual needs of students and low student outcomes in terms of academic achievement. So I got really interested in tech as a way of meaningfully meeting needs of students and teachers, and to improve student outcomes and also teacher satisfaction with the profession. So our fund, we don't only invest in K-12, we do early learning all the way through career mobility, but that was what kind of brought me into the space, was my own direct experience working in education. I had also worked on the policy side in education as an Obama administration appointee prior to, and some other things, but that kind of work prior to working in my current role as an investor at OWL Ventures.
And that's all really great experience and a great overview for you, obviously, to be able to invest. Do you have any particular startups that you love or that you're passionate about at the moment?
So I can't pick my favorite one. I love them all, but I would say one that I would have used as a teacher myself is called Newzella. This company now has over 20 million registered users. They're in almost every school and school district in the United States. But what it provides is it does differentiation, which means different reading levels of the same content. So what it does is it partners with news organizations across the world, more than 200 news organizations, to provide relevant, interesting articles for kids. And it takes one article and it puts it on 5 different reading levels. So grade 2 all the way through grade 12. So the same class of students could be reading the same content, but then have the reading level that's appropriate for them. And you can only do that through tech. The combination of being able to scale to that kind of level is very much enabled through the tech solution.
Fantastic. It is like a miracle what tech can do. We were also recently seeing some of the after effects and maybe needing to shore up the human side of things. And obviously the area that you're focused on, because children would be the prime target market.
Well, we invest across all the way through career mobility. So we also invest in things that help folks within companies upskill, and so they can continue in their career path. But we do have a lot of investments in K-12.
Your target market is humans, right?
Yes, exactly. Little ones and big ones.
Yeah. So, and where do you see things going? Obviously, you're in an enviable position of seeing all these new tech products coming in. Where do you think education is going to go as far as technology?
Yeah, so it's a really exciting time. So stat folks might not know is that education is the second largest spend in the world after healthcare. It's a $6 trillion plus market a year, right? It's a huge amount of spend, but a small amount of it's digital, and it's moving to become more digital because of changes in infrastructure. So broadband, devices being ubiquitous, as well as even in developing countries, you're seeing smartphone access, et cetera, really providing a whole new infrastructure for learning. So we're seeing a lot of growth in terms of being able to deliver high quality education at scale in ways that were prohibitive before based on cost. So it's really exciting time to see not only in the K-12 market, where you can have things like Newzella that really meet the individual needs of kids, but also able to help folks in current roles upskill, places where you might see career displacement, shift roles based on boot camps, alternative college models. So there's a lot of really exciting things happening all the way from early learning through adult learning and career mobility.
So could you talk a little bit about what your perspective is as regards female VCs and also women being invested?
Yeah, sure. So I think from an investment perspective, making generalizations, obviously not for everyone. What I think is helpful for me in talking with female entrepreneurs, definitely see far fewer, probably like, of the 500 or so I've seen in the last year and a half, it's probably been like, fewer than 20 women, right, pitching. So the number is just smaller. But I also think there is a lot of room to help entrepreneurs in terms of how you frame your pitch and how you think about market sizing, how you communicate the business model, things of that nature. And there was a Harvard Business Review study recently that you might have seen that talked about the questions women get are different. But I think there is a lot of opportunity to coach people on how you answer the question so that it's not put in negative light, because VCs are often looking for if you give them a reason to say no, it's easier, right? And so if you frame your pitch in ways that hit certain topics and have certain metrics, you're much more likely to be successful. And then I think it becomes around, not only it is definitely harder to raise money as a woman, but if you have those aspects of your business model and your pitch really buttoned up, it'll be a different kind of conversation. And I try to spend more time with people who might not otherwise just have the language around pitching, and really just explaining, like, these are the pieces, the elements that you should have, and these are the numbers people are usually thinking about, and this is why, in terms of like a VC returns perspective. So there's just a lot of like information sharing that I don't think happens at the same level between folks who are pitching.
That's a really good point, and that was a really good study that they did have. Yeah.
Trying to get the same point, but they're asked, and one is asked in a positive way and one's asked in a negative way. And so you can give and answer that same question, and it's just a way of, the way that you frame it is important.
And I remember in that project that I did in that year, Adeo Resi saying to me that the startup culture was built by men,
yes,
and that if women want to contribute, then they need to come in and change it. And I think that that's what I've been seeing over these years, is that things are changing because more women are becoming involved, and we just have different needs and different modes of, and that's a perfect example of that.
And I do think there's a lot of room, both in the VC space and in edtech, or not edtech, but tech generally, around making it a friendly place for other genders, and that's going to take time, to your point. I do think there's a little bit of the kind of first people in those companies can help create that culture. We have an entrepreneur who, from day one, at the seed stage, very purposefully hired a gender balanced team. And so it took him a little bit longer to hire, but he prioritized it and actually reports on those metrics in every board meeting. And he did that because he thought at the beginning it was really important to have that representation, both from women and underrepresented minorities on his team, because as they grew, they wouldn't be able to attract that kind of talent. So we are seeing shifts in the space around recognizing the importance of doing it earlier and creating the right kind of environment that feels friendly to a wide range of needs, both women and underrepresented minorities or other folks who are otherwise not prevalent in these companies.
I think it's fabulous, because really the market is all of us, so so the startup should be all of us as well.
In fact, even education, like you see 70-80% of teachers are women. Most decision makers at the top are men, and you see that on the entrepreneur side too, is it's still wildly skewed towards men, even though the market is one that you're really catering to a large base of women. So it's definitely a lot of work to go.
And I know a lot of male investors that I've known over the years have said, I often go home to my wife and say, do you think this would work?
That's funny. Yeah.
Fantastic. It's very exciting. Well, thanks again for coming, and I'm so looking forward to the chat with you and Phil. I think it'll be really interesting.
Great. Thank you so much.